Hello, I'm Anthony. I am a budding dungeon master, currently dungeon amateur, but I've gone through one session and I'm getting better, I hope. With your help, I will be a master at this. This is my dungeon master diary. I'm doing my best to kind of chronicle my growth and development as a, DM. I've been wanting to do this for a while, so here I am trying my best. So anyhow, this entry is all about puzzles, or at the very least, the puzzles that I created for this campaign. I know that puzzles aren't necessarily everyone's favorite thing in D&D, while simultaneously being some people's favorite thing in D&D. But I do know that my friends in the party will enjoy this particular concoction of like creature brain battle or their various encounters combined with various puzzles, and I think it'll be a fun experience for the players. So without further ado, let's get into these puzzles, and I want you to tell me, like, give me some tips because I'm going to be running it on in a few days, and hopefully, I'll hear from some of you by then. Like, maybe you'll give me some ideas. For those of you joining us for the first time, if you'd like to hear more about how the players ended up in this respective dungeon, please check out my previous videos. Just to give you like a brief summary. Just to give you a brief summary, each of the characters was given a letter indicating that they were an heir to a vast estate that also happened to be this ancient order that was like protecting the realm and such. So now they feel a sense of responsibility, but also know that there is a ridiculous treasure on the property somewhere. So they found themselves now, of course, as adventurers often do, searching for that treasure beneath the property. So now they found their way using various clues into this secretive dungeony vault. And that's where we are. In the center of this vault, there's something of an obelisk, and on each side of the obelisk, there's a carving that corresponds with their respective ancestral houses. So they each have a symbol, and you can kind of see it carved into this stone that's before them, extending from the center, a series of four corridors in which each contain various puzzles. If they solve these puzzles, there will be a prize that will inevitably lead to them having something to fill those various holes around the obelisk, leading to the next stage of this dungeon. That's for a future video. But for this video, we're going to talk about what's at the end of these corridors, what sort of puzzles they're going to face, and how I can make them better if I have time to do so. Okay, so to the north, we have the vault slash puzzle of House Cornelius. House Cornelius is known for being artistic and having a history. They're primarily wood elves, but they love to paint and craft and create things. The players have discovered a room full of vast paintings and sort of clues to this lineage and such. So what the players are going to discover once they walk to the north in the vault is as they enter the door, they're going to see that the walls of the room are beautifully painted with murals of, ancestors of the past, defeating people in battle and, just claiming victories of various sorts. And in front of them is going to be a beautiful starry sky with what looks to be a thick ladder going from floor to ceiling painted across. And there are several torches along the wall. And that's what they're going to see when they first walk in. Of course, they're going to do perception checks and that sort of thing. And I do know my players, I know the characters, and I know that some of them speak Celestial, especially the person whose house this is. So I have written in the stars, in Celestial, as like a sort of constellation that would only be recognized by someone who speaks the language. It says, "You are all the light you need." And then there's another one that says, "Darkness is your ally." So the idea being, if the party extinguishes if the party extinguishes all of the torches, something will happen. So my fear is, and I want you to tell me in the comments, my fear is it'll take them a minute to figure this out, maybe, or maybe they'll figure it out right away. And that would be great because this is just like the beginning of this is just them opening a door. Essentially, I wanted to create like a mini puzzle, then a more fun puzzle. So you let me know like how you think this is gonna go. I'm assuming I know my friends pretty well. I'm assuming they're going to get it. If they don't, I'm gonna help them out, of course. I'm not gonna, like I'll let them roll and we'll have fun with like, okay, maybe one of the torches accidentally gets knocked out and they notice a change in the room. Something happens. So essentially, when all of the torches are extinguished, the room will begin to shake, and the far wall containing the ladder will fall like something of a drawbridge, revealing that it was never a ladder, but always a bridge. And they will walk across it to the next area, which once they enter the area, they'll see that the entirety of the room is painted like a beautiful forest. Like the walls look, like there are trees and creatures and all sorts of things. And there's a sort of table with paints and turpentine and brushes and all sort of things in the front. And as they enter the room, the door will close and they'll realize that they're in a living, breathing world of paint where everything is simply made of paint. And deep within the forest, they're going to see a treasure chest that's also painted. So my hope is I'm going to have various creatures of paint attack them and try to stop them, and depending on their roles and such. And I like the idea that the creatures that are created are all paint based. So then, if they were used the turpentine that's on the table, it would destroy them right away. If not, they could slash them with the weapons. I think it would. It's interesting. I haven't thought about how that's going to work yet because I know they could destroy them, but because I don't want this to be like a major battle. It's more about having fun in this painted world. But I do want the primary puzzle of this is, of course, they need to open the chest, and the only way to do that would be to either use turpentine to destroy the chest or paint a key that they could use to open it. And then once they do that, they'll get a crystallized sigil, like a symbol of the House of Cornelius. That they will be able to use as a sort of key later, that they will be able to use as a sort of key later on that obelisk I described. Then they're going to have to find their way out, which I imagine the only way to do that is to paint a door or to use the turpentine. I'm imagining like or if they're like a very strong certain roles, I'll let them break a wall or something. We'll figure this out. I'm not going to paint my party into a corner with this. Sorry. But I do think it'll be fun. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think it's too much? Do you think they're going to figure it out? What sort of creatures would you include in this painted world? Obviously, like I'll think about their ancestry a bit and like the wood elves and see what I can come up with. That would be fun for them. But I don't know. It could be anything because it's painted and it's supposed to be kind of a fun and imaginative. So I'm gonna look through the monster manual and also just like probably just homebrew some creatures for fun because we'll see how this goes. Assuming they get their treasure and they find their way out, they would head to the next dungeon, presumably. So then the next puzzle is to the south. There's House Berkerstetta, which are primarily dragonborn. But this corridor that the party's going to enter will lead to basically just a brick wall as like a stone wall. To the left, there's going to be a beautiful portrait, like a framed portrait of the Annabella Berkerstetta, one of the ancestors of the house. And then to the right, there's going to be a mirror. When they look in the mirror, they're going to see that behind them, there's a large corridor. If the party attempts to turn and walk through this portrait, they're just going to be met with resistance. It's a brick wall, or it's a stone wall. There's nothing they can do. They have to essentially walk backwards through the portrait until they reach the end of the corridor and open the door. Once the door is open, the spell will be lifted and they'll be free to enter the next portion of the puzzle, which this part I think is a little unusual, and I'm not sure how people are going to feel about it. I think I know how my friends are going to feel about it, but I'm not sure how the general D&D tube slash like people out there, how are you gonna feel about it? I want to know, so you tell me like how you feel about this sort of thing. I came up with this idea because I know that one of my players, the player who's of this house in particular, I know that she's brand new to D&D and she's not as comfortable being in the role playing spotlight yet. Like she's getting there. She loved our first session, but I didn't want to make her go through her character's ancestral background. Like I want her to like have fun and dip her toes into like kind of stuff while sort of doing like cannonball into just like being silly and having fun in D&D. I think one will feed the other, I'm hoping. So what I did was I created a puzzle in which her character has been giving like very obvious clues and that I will remind her of. I'm not a monster. I'm not a monster. But very obvious clues about what a specific key looks like that's important to her house. So what I've done is I've purchased these three very specific keys, and I've previously on D&D, I've described this one as being the necklace that was on her ancestor in a portrait that she's seen. So what's going to happen is I'm going to describe the room that we're actually in as if the characters are suddenly in our world in this very strange, and unfamiliar room. And three of them are going to be stuck in their chairs. as players. These three players are only going to find themselves able to use the words hot or cold. And each person is going to be given a different location. So I'm going to show, okay. So essentially, I'm going to hide these keys around my house. I'm going to hide them in very specific locations, and I'm going to show three members of the party the locations, but they're not allowed to say what it is. They can only say hot and cold, but they're also not going to know that they have three different locations. My friend, who happens to be the Dragonborn, is going to be the only one who finds herself able to move from her seat. So there are going to be three players who all have information that she doesn't have. She's also, of course, able to just look around the house and find keys on her own. She doesn't have to listen to them at all. But if they want, they can try to work together and, realize what's going on and how she's being manipulated in one way or another. And she has to, they all have to figure out how to work together in order to find these keys. But once she does find the keys, and I'll, of course, help in various ways if there are snags in this plan because it's very unusual. I understand that. But she does have the information to know which key is the proper key. I made it so the other keys will open the treasure box as well, but the treasure inside will be creatures of some sort. So an undead will pop out, or a goblin of some sort, or like some sort of spider creature, and will start attacking the players who are sitting down. So it will be all up to my friend to find the other keys while they're being attacked, or try to stop these creatures, of course. So I'm assuming she's going to eventually find either all three keys or the proper key, use it, and then she will be given her treasure, which is a crystallized symbol of her house. And then they'll be able to put that into the obelisk, and it'll be one of the four keys that will help them get to the next part of the dungeon. Hopefully they succeed. This particular puzzle is the one that I'm obviously the most insecure about because it's unusual. I understand that, but I do think my friends are going to have fun with it, and I can't wait to let you guys know how this goes. If you have any experience with anything like this, please let me know in the comments. I'm not imagining it's going to go off perfectly. I'm like, there are gonna be hiccups here and there, but I think it's a fun experiment, especially for our first campaign, to try something like this especially with my friend who doesn't have a lot of experience with D&D, so it'll just be something fun because honestly, most of them don't know any better, so they're like, oh yeah, this is just part of it. It's like we do weird stuff like this, and maybe we do. I don't know. I'm new to this, so if this sounds like a horrible idea, I mean, let me know in the comments, but also be nice because like I'm trying my best. Assuming they get past that and they place the key in the obelisk, or don't, and just go to the next dungeony puzzle area. So the next house will be House Well Carminium, which is a house of half orcs. It's mostly half orc paladins, so they're known for like joviality and strength, but also their like strength of character and trying to be better than their orc nature would have them believe they could be. What they're going to see as they walk down this corridor is something of a whack-a-mole game. It's just going to be, it's a trap that's been created by their ancestors to make sure they can get by in order to get to the next door of the puzzle slash dungeon. It's going to be something of like an orcish goblin-y mole creature that pops up from various mounds. I'm just going to basically let my friends roll, and they can decide. They can talk to him. They can, of course, they can fight it. They can try to play whack-a-mole with it. They can do all of these various things. But once they get past that, it's just like a fun trap, and mostly it's a sort of like set dressing to suggest what they're about to see, because as they pass that, they're going to enter a room where they see various furs and trophies that you would imagine in like a orcish, half orcish, layer of sorts, but they're along with weapons. But to the left, they're going to see a dunk tank. In front of them, they're going to see a wall of balloons. And then to the right, they're going to see one of those like test your might games. The kind where like there's a giant bell and there's like a big war hammer like on the wall next to it. And you have to see, like how hard you can hit. So the party's going to see these three various games, assuming that they have to beat them all or just one of them, or, what have you. And we'll see how this goes. So if they do dunk the knight, they're going to receive like a little card will be dispensed from them. That's going to be their prize from that one. And it will say, just you wait and see. Not everything is as it seems. Within no game does truth reside. Step up when worthy to win your prize. The balloons, if they, go for the balloons, it's going to turn out that the balloon game is actually a mimic. I just need to use a mimic at some point. I love the idea of like a whole wall of balloons being this creature. It's only there to protect people who don't know what the actual key to this treasury is. So if they do find themselves fighting it, they're going to have to fight it. If they ignore it, or if they go to the third game, then that's just how the game's going to work. We're going to see how this party decides to do things. I don't know. It will be fun though. The third game is one of those test your mic games where you hit the platform with a hammer and you watch the little ball, raise and hopefully hits the bell. I'm imagining they're going to assume they're going to have to hit the bell. The real way, no matter how hard they hit the platform, it will not hit that bell, and they're going to see a banner across that's going to say "Weigh your strength," and allow with that, along with the hopefully the hint from the knight will allow them to see that the orc has to stand on the platform in order to show that he is the true strength. I'm hoping that's the case. Otherwise, I will allow a series of right answers. I don't know. However they can get that bell off, if they have fun with it, I'm just gonna let it happen. I'm not gonna make it too crazy. Although I mean, yeah, it makes sense for his family to do something like this. It isn't absolutely necessary, and I'm not going to be freaking precious with it. I believe the party will have fun with this and solve the puzzles with no real problem because I know my friends and they're pretty good at this stuff. But if they have to be creative with it, that's part of the game and it's fun. I'm just gonna allow that. So let me know what you think of this idea. So assuming they get the bell down, within the bell there will be the crystallized structure of the house Wildcardium that will, act as the key to the obelisk. The fourth and final puzzle is House Hamato. So the thing about this house, the character that was presented in the beginning of the party did not have a backstory. Did he is a turtle, and I was not given much else. The player didn't give me much of a backstory, so all that I knew about the character was that he was a druid turtle. So I was like, okay, it has to have something with like nature, something with just growth and development, and so I went with, of course, because why wouldn't I? Ninja Turtles, duh. Who wouldn't do this? You can't give me a blank canvas with a turtle and not expect me to go Ninja Turtles. So what I did was in the house, as he explored the room that was designated for his ancestors, he was met with a portrait of a rat, and it was obviously Splinter. So in the portrait, the rat was holding this green beverage. There were also four portraits around the room depicting the various turtles with their various masks. They were primarily gray washed, with the exception of the color of their mask. So in this room, what they're going to see is the turtle sewer. Essentially, there are various training mats and pizza boxes, and like all sorts of things. But they're also going to see the three primary colors in these large jugs in front of them on this table, along with a stack of cups, just no shortage of cups. On the far wall, they're going to see what looks to be like a safe with a giant eye above it. And the eye is going to cause minimal damage, but will hurt anyone who approaches it unless they imbibe a specific drink. So around the room, they're going to see clues, just in case, of course, because no one's going to assume what to do here, but there's going to be druidic messaging giving the character clues and giving the players clues. And one of them is going to say, like, drink of our family, every member is essential. So they have to take these three primary colors and make each of the colors from the turtles. So they're going to have to make this concoction and drink it, then step in front of the eye. I'm going to allow some fun here, but I also wanted to do this. I'm going to see what happens here, but I did like the idea that if the players drink just red, something interesting will happen. If they drink just yellow, something interesting will happen. If they drink just orange, or if they mix the colors, maybe like there will be various effects that will help them along, to figure out what the actual puzzle is, or maybe they will turn into, maybe if you drink red, you just look like Raphael and you can walk in front of that eye. Or maybe you need the whole family to walk in front of the eye. There are various things you can do. So I'm hoping it goes well. It's kind of like loosey-goosey situation, but at the same time, I think it'll be fun. And I love like poking fun at the turtle situation, especially since I wasn't given much of a backstory and he knows it. So it is what it is. It's going to be a fun opportunity for the players to kind of get creative and like see how they interpret this puzzle and for me, it's going to be fun to see how loose I could be with these sort of puzzles. But really, the whole intention of this is to like get like the puzzle function or like feature out of the way for a minute with D&D. I set up these things to allow the players to find the next layer of the story essentially. So at this point, once they get through all of these, they will have basically touched base with the primary functions and features of D&D. So at this point, once they accomplish these things and get all of these various crystallized symbols, they're going to act as keys, and the obelisk will lower, revealing the next stage of the dungeon. And we'll talk about that in a future video. But just please let me know what you think of these various puzzles. Make some assumptions on what you think is going to go really wrong, and I promise I will be honest with you, and I'll let you know exactly what happens because I'm curious. I don't expect them all to go flawlessly. I do think we're going to get through them. We might have to laugh through some of them and kind of like, I might have to nudge them a little. We might have to get creative with like, I mean, I have a druid, so he can speak with animals pretty well. If there are some bugs crawling around that dungeon somewhere, they might have things to say. Maybe they have some tips. But we'll see. If you have any suggestions for me, if you have any comments or just want like if you have any requests for like video types, or if you want to see my maps or anything like that, let me know in the comments below, and I'll do my best to make various videos to help you guys. But thank you all for joining me, and thank you for being a part of this journey with me. Because honestly, a lot of your tips have helped me in developing this campaign at all, and like this setting is really coming together in large part to a lot of what you have said to me, and I appreciate it because I'm fumbling through this and I'm doing my best. I'm trying to piece it all together, and I think I have a pretty good idea of like the world at large and like how this can work. And but at the same time, like I get lost in like the minutia and like, the fear of some of it. So I'm trying to just go through it. I'm just doing my best as I can. But it does help to get tips and to learn from people who are more experienced than I am. So yeah. So thank you all. Thank you for being here and for commenting and for like your kind words and encouragement. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, let me know if you have any suggestions for puzzles, or let me know some like funny stories in the comments about like puzzles that worked or didn't work for you. But aside from that, like I would also like to hear about traps and stuff too, because I'd like to do a little bit more of that. But after this series of puzzles, we're gonna get back to like the role playing, world building, fun aspect of D&D that I personally prefer. But I did want to give my party this like fun dungeon experience where they each get to like their time to shine with their various characters, and they come to their own. They find this treasure, and it leads to this next part of their hero's journey. So let me know what you think. Thank you so much for joining. This has been the puzzle entry of Dungeon Master Diary, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.